It's a steakhouse. Can't mess with me, I'm chosen. Can't sell my soul, don't own it. I got no chains, they broken. No chains. Tell the boy I'm free.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of the No Chains podcast. Thank you for coming back, and thank you for anybody new. Today is Aidan's testimony. He's going to be sharing his testimony with us today, which I've never heard it completely, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually told my whole entire breakdown to anybody. If I have, but
Yeah, I'm excited about this one, man.
just a little bit. I think
really-
I think I told you about that stuff that on that phone call with you and this was a while ago.
Yeah,
Whenever
on
all
Minecraft?
that stuff was going down. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't think I've told like the whole entire like full story in one sitting before, or to like anybody. I don't think. I think it's just like little parts of my life that I've shared. But and when I am sharing, if you guys have any like deeper questions or want to ask me anything further, just feel free to interrupt whenever.
For sure, man.
Do you guys have anything that you want to?
I know we already talked about this before the podcast. But I just want to say, don't be afraid. I know it's kind of scary to think about, like, really throwing everything out there about yourself to other people, but just remember that, you never know who's going to see it, and you never know what other people are going through. So, for me, for last episode, the way I looked at it was, like, I'm going to expose myself, because I believe exposing myself is worth it if it's helping somebody else, because that's not who I am anymore, number one. So it doesn't really bother me to expose myself, because it's not me anymore. And two, like I said, if you can bring one person to Jesus, we don't even bring people to Jesus. We just spread the message. The Holy Spirit is what convicts them. But yeah, bro. I'm excited, and you got this, brother.
You got it.
All right.
Wherever you want to start.
I'm gonna start a little bit before I got baptized, only because it's gonna give a little bit of backstory of, like later on. But I think I'm gonna start in like elementary school. But because I grew up going to church with family every now and then, and there was a lot of like keeping secrets from the rest of my family, because my home life was pretty rough, as I've explained before. And so it was a lot of like keeping secrets and acting like everything was okay. And with that, it's like, we would have random people just live with us, like just random people that were doing drugs. I'd say a lot of it changed after, like my best friend's passing, which is my uncle. Once we lost him, I feel like that was like the glue to my family. And so once we lost him, that's when my parents ended up turning to like the drugs and all that. My dad was abusing alcohol a lot. Then he started getting into selling and all that. And so like I always knew what was going on. I always knew that there was drugs in and out of my house. We would find like needles throughout the house. And so like being around drugs, it was like normal for me. Like even some of his friends would like have us go outside and like find like cigarettes that were left over and bring them to him and all that. Like it was a normal thing. So like I grew up around it. And then there was a time period where like sometimes we wouldn't have electricity at the house. We wouldn't have water. We wouldn't have like our sinks would be filled with like maggots because how dirty it was, and like the dishes were always dirty. Mold inside of the sink and all that. It got really bad over time. But I think around like 4th or 5th grade, I think it was 5th grade, we've dealt with cops coming in and out of the house, like always coming to check on us. We had DFS always knocking on our door, and so whenever that would happen, we'd have to like speed run clean our house because of how disgusting it was. And so it was always like we never knew when DFS would show up, just because the school knew a little bit. They knew that we didn't live in like a really safe house, but they didn't have any like proof of that, so they would just like call DFS, which I ended up finding out that some of the people that called on us were like people we knew, like family or like my friends' parents that I knew, which I have no like. I'm glad they did. I'm not mad that they did. At the time as a kid, I'm like, this sucks, but and then going through all that, my parents were really abusive, mentally, physically. We always heard them just like mentally abusing each other, and we would witness them physically abusing each other. And so there was a lot of aggression in the whole house. Me and my brother would get into it a lot. And sometimes it would lead to someone like actually being hurt. And we went through a lot. There's a few times when I could talk back and I would get in trouble, not just like yelled at, but like hit. And it was mostly me and my older brother that got it, thankfully, because I don't wish that to ever. I'm glad that never happened to like my younger siblings. So obviously, being the older brother, you're like, I'll go ahead and just take the blame. And so like I kind of like just grew up like that. Whenever there would be something that happened, if I hurt my little brother, or like accidentally too, like not even on purpose, but if I hurt him, it was like he's the baby, so like they're gonna be on his side more than yours, even if he did something first and you just like lash back. But there's a few times when me and my older brother we'd get in like physical altercations over like video games, or just because someone said something the other one didn't like, and so we would physically like beat each other. And my parents would come out running, and like it was never, we kind of like knew what was going to happen whenever we got in those fights, and we couldn't control it because our temper was so bad, because I mean that's what we grew up around fighting and arguing, so it was a normal for us, and so we didn't really think anything of it. But we always knew the second that door opened, something bad was going to happen. And a lot of times it would end up with like the police over, which would end up taking like one of my parents to jail because they had a warrant or something. I feel like the one time I finally was just like done with it all, which like I started seeing so clear, was we were all going, me and my older brother and younger brother, we were all old enough to like ride bikes and stuff. And we were like, okay, we're going to go down to our friend's house. And my father, he was like, you're gonna take your little sister, blah, blah, blah. And being on a bike, it's like, it didn't have pegs or nothing. She's little. And so we'd have to tie, it was like a whole just thing. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to do that. I was like, that's going to be really hard, blah, blah, blah. And at this time I had like long hair because my dad had long hair. And like, I no matter how much he like hurt me physically, like he was still my dad, and I was younger. So like, he was still my dad. Like I had to love him. And so like I had long hair and all that. And so he would always use it against me. And so like whenever I would like talk back, he would just like yank my hair. But in this situation, this is when I finally was like, I need to say something to somebody, which sucked because I mean, my neighbors saw it, which the cops ended up coming, but they didn't like stop it from happening. Like they were all sitting outside, and I was just like, no, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. And so he ripped me off my bike by my hair because I had it in a ponytail. And he dragged me down the sidewalk, up the steps into the house, and like slammed the door. And he started just like hitting me. And my little brother, he was there. And then we ended up getting a knock, and it was the cops. And at this point, I was just like, thank the Lord. Like seriously, like I couldn't do it anymore. And they saw the house it was pretty disgusting. Whenever the cops showed up, they like came in the house and everything. And I feel like around this time, my dad has gone to jail like back and forth. And so like the cops, they knew who he was. They knew who our family was. They just knew it. And so they knocked on the door, and they were like, hey, we got a noise complaint, blah, 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 something about a man hitting a child or something. And my dad was like, oh, no, my boys were just getting at it. They were just fighting and stuff, and I broke it up. And the cop, like, he, like, looks in my direction because my dad's talking to the other cop, and I'm just, like, shaking my head. because I'm like, I can't speak because my dad had a hold of me still. And so I was like, I can't speak, but I can like move my head and he won't know. And so cop was like looking at me and I'm just like, and at this point, like you could see some like already noticeable bruises, and I was just shaking my head, and they were like, they asked him, they were like, what's your name, sir? And he goes, he says his name.
Yeah, you don't have to say his name.
And they ran it, and they found out that he had a warrant for his arrest, and so they went ahead and took him to jail. I think he was in jail for a few days, but throughout those few days, my mom didn't speak to me. It was my fault he was in jail. It was my fault. It was my fault, blah, blah, blah. It was my fault that I said something. And so, like, that's when I was also, like, I can no longer speak out. I no longer have my own voice. Like, I have to just stay quiet, which is not what you want a little kid to know. Like, you don't want no little kid to just be like, oh, I can't speak. And then I think a little after all that, like I don't even think it was like a year, but finally like the cops were getting leads and all that and like finding out. And there was like an undercover cop that came in, and I said to my parents, I was like that. I told them, I said, I don't feel right about that guy. He feels weak. Like something about him is like wrong. And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, I feel like something bad's going to happen. And like, I was really good at reading people throughout my life, because like I went through a lot of people coming in the house. So I just knew how to just read people. And every time I said something about somebody, my parents would be like, you're crazy. And then a week later, that person would did something to them or to our house. And finally I was like, something about that guy. Like, I don't know. And I mean, he was always really nice to us kids. Anytime he'd come in, and then we found out, because we got swatted, and I was about, this was about fifth grade. And you know, being a kid that played video games, it's like, you're literally getting swatted. Like, people coming in with big guns pointing them at you, no matter like, because their duty, like, it doesn't matter who you are, like, they still have to like point it. And so I'm a little kid. I was playing Subway Surfers on my tablet. My little brother was sitting next to me. My older brother was making tea, and it was a really ghetto way he was doing it. And he just had a Ziploc bag of white sugar. And so they kicked our doors down, and my brother is going ham. Like, he's yelling at them, you better fix that door. We just put that in, blah, blah, blah. I watched him get taken to the ground by grown men, and he's not much older than, he's 2 years older than me. So at that time, I was in like 5th grade. So I was pretty young. So he was just as young. He was like 6th grade, 7th grade. And my little brother, he had his headphones on. I see my mom and my little sister like coming through the hallway. Actually, they went to her room. But before the door came down, I hear yelling from my parents' room, and it's my dad just like running back, and he like locks the door, runs back to his room, and he's like, he was hiding stuff. And so whenever we got swatted, they brought my mom to the living room because she was holding my little sister. So like, obviously they didn't want to hurt my little sister. She was like really young at that time. And so she was holding her, and she came to the living room with us. We were all sitting down on the couch. We had to tell my older brother to just shut his mouth. Like, seriously, like, he's going to get in trouble. And then next thing we know, we see my dad coming from his room, because they went back there. And they didn't just put him in handcuffs. They zip tied his arms, like his hands together. Like, it wasn't handcuffs. They had handcuffs, but because how like crazy, and they also don't know what you're on. So like, you can be crazy enough. Drugs can give you weird amounts of strength. And so like, they literally zip tied his hands together. I think they might have had his feet zip tied, but the reason I'm saying is because like, all I remember from like this part, whenever I'm witnessing this happen, at first I'm blaming myself. I'm like, I'm never going to see my family again. We're all going to be split up, because my parents always said, DFS, they're going to split you guys up. You guys are never going to see each other again, which that's not always the case. But I just remember being a little kid, and I'm just like, dude, like, this is my fault. Like, my siblings aren't gonna have normal life anymore. I just messed everything up, and then I was like, it's finally over. I don't have to be hit anymore. I don't have to be cussed out or get talking, like, because I was talked down. All of me and my siblings were talked down on. And then 6th grade, because this also leads up to my baptism, because 6th grade, we lived with my dad's side. We lived with my aunt and uncle, so his sister. We lived with them for a little bit, but they already had like 3 kids, and their house wasn't big enough, so we could only stay with them for a week. And then this other family, they came and visited us, and they were like, we would love to take you guys home with us, blah, blah, blah. And so we ended up living with them. Except I'm kind of thinking, I think I lived with my grandparents first with all that. And so this was about 2018. And I know when I lived with them, I got baptized. I don't know the order that I lived with people in, but I know at some point in 2018 I was baptized, but I was living with my grandparents at the time because my little brother wanted to get baptized as well. But we lived with a good amount of families. There was about, I don't know if I'm going to count my own as my separate, but I lived with 3 different people in my family. And then I lived with 3 different people that weren't family. And then I lived in the, there's like this place that they take foster kids that don't have a home yet. It's down in Joplin. And so we lived there for a little bit, and I was one of the oldest kids that were there, and so I helped out. That place was Children's Haven. Really great place, really great place. They treated us like just like normal kids. And then we were able to like visit my parents and stuff. And at that time, like, obviously, like, you're going to miss your parents no matter what happened, no matter what they did. You're going to miss them. And I remember having to go to, like, family therapy. And, like, I would just repeatedly ask them, like, why'd you guys do this? Why'd you guys do that? Why'd you guys do this? And to this day, I don't think I've ever gotten, like, an actually clear answer from them. And I never will. Which sucks, but at the same time, it's like, it's just how it works. Like, I might not get that answer, but it's okay. And so whenever I did get baptized, that was my own option. Like, it was my option to get baptized. And I was really following the word. And there's this pastor at my church named Pastor Steve. He was our children group leader. And so I went up to him and I was like, I would love to get baptized. And he's like, why do you want to get baptized? And I was like, I want to give my life to God. Like, I want to, like, deepen my path with him. And my little brother was like, I want to do that too, because my brother, he loved going to church. He was singing, he would dance. And being an older brother, you're like, finally seeing him happy is just, that's all you care about. But so they were like, yeah, we can do that. And so we got baptized. And whenever that happened, like, it felt, when I got up from that water, dude, I felt good. Like, I felt saved. And, like, I don't think I can, like, getting that feeling that you finally did it, like, that's just a feeling, like, it'll always stick with you, but you'll never be able to get that again, in a way. Like, you're just, like, you gave your life to God, like, fully. And so it was my own option. My family, they were very like supporting of it. They said that I was ready. Cause I was like, am I ready? And I would ask questions. They're like, yeah, you're ready. And I mean, I loved going to church. I was always the kid that was like, I can't wear shorts to church. I can't do it. I have to wear pants. But I would always like wear shorts, and I'm like, I feel so underdressed. Like, as a kid, you're seeing all these people in like suits and like jeans and stuff, and you're in shorts and a basketball t-shirt. You're just like, you feel really weird.
I'm not gonna lie. Our church, it's like kind of warm in there. Like I have to wear shorts and a t-shirt.
Dude,
I'll be too hot.
my church was hot last week. I was like, dude, turn the AC on. Me and my uncle sitting next to each other. We both radiated a lot of body heat, so our legs were sweating because they were leaning up against each other. But yeah, I was that kid that was in shorts and basketball shoes. Like, that was me. But throughout foster care, a lot of the families we did move in with, except for one, they all went to church, and so like we were able to go continuously. We did a lot of good things. We hung out with like a lot of church groups in a few of the homes, I believe. Only in one of them, but the other home the family that we found, they were really great people. Really great people. They lived a little bit further away than my parents wanted. And my whole case was just taking care of us until my parents are stable, have a house, not using or nothing, very like make sure they're clean. My case wasn't to be adopted, which is why we got taken out of one of the homes, because they were like, we want the parents out of the picture, we want to adopt them, blah blah blah. That wasn't for what our case was for. And then the other family, like, I'm thinking now, I'm like, I would have been so happy if they adopted us, which I'm still in touch with them. They're pretty much like my aunt and uncle, which them living like an hour or so away and me having work, it's like I don't really go see them much, but hopefully around next month I will be able to do that. But I would say if anybody asks like about my parents, like those are probably the people I bring up. Like those are like my parents. But and then so we ended up getting out of the system. Finally, we were back with my parents. We lived at a house, and for the first few months, it felt so like surreal. Like it felt amazing. It felt like just great to be with your family again, like your mom and dad and your siblings, like all just together in one house, go to bed together, like wake up together, eat together. It just felt amazing. But after a few months, it finally just like started to go back to normal. Not the drug part, but the physical abuse, the mental abuse. There's a lot of times where like my little brother would go. So my older brother, actually, he didn't go in the system with us, and neither did my sister. She went to her dad's, and my brother went to his dad's. And so it was me. I was finally the oldest kid. I was the oldest one. And when it came to it, like I would always, my siblings would always ask, like, are we going to be here for a while, or are we going to move again? And being the older brother, you want to tell them, oh no, we're going to be here for a little bit. That never happened. It was always get up pack. This felt like such a long period, but it wasn't.
Can I ask you something about that? What was it like going to school at the same time as you guys were, jumping from house? Like, did people at your school know your situation, or did you guys just not mention it at school, or like?
So,
what was it like?
I think at that time, I do remember. I don't think I actually, like, a lot of people knew, except for one of the people we lived with. There was someone my age that I was living with. So we had the same class together. We had all the same classes, and so they would tell people about it. And I try to keep quiet because I didn't want people to, like, think that of me, because it's a new school. I used to go to Joplin, and then I ended up moving to Webb. So I'm at a whole new school now, which is a good thing, because Joplin, it was a really bad area. Going through all that, and then I would just bring the attitude to school, and I was that kid that was like throwing chairs and stuff. Like, that's who I was. But when I moved to Webb, that wasn't me. I did my work, except I would always ask this one kid for math answers because I just never wanted to do math. But other than that, I did my work. But I don't think, it's like people knew, but they didn't know. Like a very small amount of people, I believe, knew in that class. And then when I ended up moving to that family, they live in Lamar. And so when I ended up moving to that family, I moved away for a week from Web City. And dude, when I lived with that family, it felt like we were there forever. And then I thought about it, like a little bit, like a few months after we ended up moving out. I found out like it was only a week. It was only for Christmas break, and we were about to go to school in Lamar. We were about to go back to school because it was in the end of Christmas break. And then my caseworker was like, "Hey, we have a place in Webb," and I was like, "You're kidding." So I moved back to the school because I told everybody goodbye. I didn't know when the next time I was going to see everybody. And so I gave everybody hugs, and I was just like, it was nice meeting all you, blah, blah, like to my class. And then a week or 2 weeks later, I moved back. But I wasn't in the same class anymore. They moved me to a whole different area in the school with a whole new different class. And so it sucked because it was a constant restart. It was restart here, and it was just constant. Like I never got to feel comfortable. And so I don't think I think the teachers knew, but whenever I moved to this like other group, I don't think I told anybody. And if I did, it was like 2 people, but they were just like, "So how come you're in this pod now? Weren't you in?" And I was like, "Yeah, I live with a teacher, but I just moved in with her." And like there was a whole mix up, and but I never like just told people. And I was always like an outsider at schools. 'Cause 6th grade, like everybody knew me. Like everybody called me the same nickname. Everybody knew me. I was the popular kid. And being that age, like being the popular kid's actually fun. Like everybody's actually like nice to you and likes you, and there's no like drama and gossip. Except nowadays in that grade, there's a lot of it. But back then it wasn't. Like we talked about Fortnite and stuff, and that's actually the thing with when I moved here in that the second time. I would sit with like the athlete guys because like I was playing sports now. And sitting at the lunch table, like I just kept my mouth shut because all they would be talking about is Fortnite. I didn't know what that was. And so like whenever I got a computer at school, like I don't think anybody knows this, but when I got a computer in 6th grade, like when we were doing our work, I would look up Fortnite and I would look up like cool things about it, and just so I could fit in with their conversation. I didn't have an Xbox at home. I didn't have any of that. All that stuff was back at my house that I don't get to see anymore. I didn't know that. Like whenever I would go to the home that I lived in, I would go home, I'd mow, I would sit inside, we would play board. Like I never got on technology. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have any of that. And so when I did get the opportunity, I would look up Fortnite. I would check the coolest skins, blah, blah, blah. And just so I can be like, yeah, I have this skin and this skin. And so like, I feel like I lived in a lie because I just wanted to fit in.
I can relate to that.
And like, it was just I was constantly just living in a lie. People would ask, I would lie. Oh, they're good. We're doing like, my life was a lie for the longest time through that period just because I wanted to be cool. I wanted to fit in. And finally, whenever we were set back with my parents, I guess I'll backtrack too. So after a few months, like it got bad again. I think I already said all that, but I have to like repeat it so I can remind myself where I was. Okay, so the house that we lived in, though, it was good at first, and we kept it clean. And then moving on, like it got dirty over time. There was a lot of fights, a lot of bickering, a lot of yelling. My parents ended up fighting. Like that house also, it had like no insulation whatsoever, and so during the winter, it was like literally below freezing in that house. You couldn't even see like the floor in most of the rooms. The couch was filled with just crap. And then I would say like the first 2 months living with them, like it felt amazing. We watched movies. We would order pizza. We would just have, it was a normal family. So I will give like that was probably like the best time I've had in a very long time. but then it just got worse again. It happened so fast, and I feel like my biggest problem with my faith was I would pray about this stuff, and then I feel like when I would pray about it, it would get worse. And I never thought, oh, it's getting bad for a reason. No, it was every time I pray about it, how come I'm asking him to like keep it like this and keep my life like this because it feels normal? Like, why does it keep getting worse? I keep praying to him every night, and I'm like, he's not helping me whatsoever. He's not helping at all. And so like, and when I lived with my parents, we stopped going to church because they didn't go. And so like there was a period from when I lived with them until a while that it was like I was very inconsistent with my like reading the Bible or going to church. And then we ended up like we needed a new place. That place was terrible. The landlord was a scum. He wouldn't do anything for us. Whenever like something would break, it's his duty. Like he has to fix it. He wouldn't do that. He literally wouldn't answer us for weeks at a time. And we were living in his house, like his property, because it was a rental. Like we lived in rental properties for our like after getting out of that one house. And we were moving out. Like that place was infested with rats. It was infested with snakes. Like snakes would literally crawl out of the walls, like big snakes. And, being in 7th grade, I was scared. Like I would move to go to my closet and there's just rats just everywhere. And I remember when I moved my nightstand, there's a hole in the wall and this big long snake is coming out of it. And I grabbed the baseball bat and I started wailing on that thing. And so I'm literally hitting the wall and like, dude, I lived in that. Like there was no telling, like, and that's why I always hated comforters, because they would always touch the ground and I'm like, anything can just crawl up. So to this day, I don't have a comforter. I don't. Use a blanket or something? I just use a blanket, like a tiny blanket that stays on the bed. I can't do it. Like in my sheets, I have to tuck, like any part that will touch the ground, I have to tuck it in, because I'm like still scared of that. I have nothing to be scared about anymore, but living in that, like snakes crawling out of your walls, like that's disgusting. Like you just see them slip, like that's disgusting. And so we ended up moving out of the house. We found another one in Carterville. Again, it was like a fresh start. We were like, okay, we're gonna keep this house clean. We're all gonna stay. And over time, this is when my older brother moved back with us. Me and him and my little brother shared a room. My little sister had her own, my mom and dad's. And this house was pretty nice. It needed a little work, but it was pretty nice. We got my grandparents gave us their old brand new furniture. And there was electric reclined seats. Like you just click a button and it reclines for you. Like they were fancy. And everything was put together finally. We all had our own beds. We all had everything that a normal family would have. We had there was a couch. So there wasn't really a dining room, but there was area that this couch, it was an older couch where we'll eat here because we can all fit. And there was a big old coffee table, so we'd all eat there, or we'd all eat in the kitchen on the counter because it was a pretty good sized counter. But it felt normal again. We all cooked together. We'd all hang out in the kitchen. Me and my dad would give each other crap. Me and my dad we would laugh together and all that. And then it started to get bad again. And at this point, I was dedicated to football. That was my escape. That's when I can actually take out my anger. So when I tackled someone, I'm finally taking that anger out. And that was my escape. And then I started doing weights and all that, and I just fell in love with football and lifting weights. That's what I cared for. That was my escape, and I always wanted to go home and be tell my parents about my new PR or something cool that happened at my practice. And I would always ask them hey, I would always ask hey, can you come throw the football to me, blah blah blah, because I was a receiver at that time, and so it'd be my dad I want to play catch with them. And he was always just too busy. And I could tell whenever they were finally decently happy is because they both started like gaining like healthy weight, not healthy weight, but like they started gaining weight again, not like to an extreme amount, but you can tell like they're actually taking care of themselves finally. And they would come. The good thing is they came to like my football games and stuff still, but whenever we did move into the house, like it wasn't really home cooked meals as much, like it was for first few months again. It's like everything was good for months and then it wasn't. It would just like go down so fast. And so I ended up tearing my labrum in my shoulder, and I had to get surgery. And for the surgery, my dad was there for me. My parents were there for me. And they took care of me. Like they even got me like my own snacks, like because in my surgery, for some reason, my legs were like really, I couldn't feel my legs because how they had the drugs and all, how they had me set up and all that. And so like there was nights where I would be, both my legs would be cramping at the same time, like quads, calves, my whole, like everywhere. And dude, this is the worst pain I've ever felt. And being in a sling and moving it just a little bit, like yeah, it's painful. And so like both my legs would be cramping up and I'd be like rolling on the ground, not being able to feel this because how bad this is hurting. And like they'd come out there and they'd have me eat bananas and they'd like roll my legs out. And then after I started like being able to, after like a two weeks, I think, my legs started, I could actually like move around and like do normal activities. I was still stuck in a sling. I was stuck in that sling for like 9 months, but throughout that time, there was kids in my grade that could like that could drive. Oh no, yes, there was a guy in my grade that could drive, and this was like I didn't know this was gonna be my friend group yet, but my dad started selling weed, and there was these group of kids because I knew my dad sold weed. That was like I already knew that, and me just being happy that we're back with my family. Like people would be like, "Yo, do you smoke?" And I would just. So at that time, like, my older brother smoked, and so, like, obviously I smoked. In 8th grade, I think, I'm trying to think the first time I actually did, it might have been 7th or 8th grade. Then I started smoking, so I was like, hey, my dad has some if you guys need any. And so it was like, I grew up around it, and my older brother did it, and I thought he was cool. Like, I'm only in 8th grade at this point, and I think he's the coolest guy ever. And so I started too. And so like they came to the house and they like, and my dad, like he was selling to kids my age that he didn't even know. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is bad, but it's like, if I say anything, like it's all going to just end up bad again. Except for, one time I said something about how, because he kept losing his jobs and stuff because he just wouldn't show up or he would do something stupid. And then him and my older brother started getting into it again. Like my dad would like pick him up and slam him on the ground. My little brother would jump in, start hitting my dad. My dad would turn around and start hitting me, and I'm just like, I'm still in a sling. And finally, like he's getting in my face, he's yelling at me, and he's like, "You're lucky you're in that sling, or I would like lay you out right now." And you know, you're just like, what? You're like, I'm literally, like, you're just confused. And everything happened. It always happens so fast. It's like something little could happen and everybody's just mad. And I would still need my parents' help, still like to get my brace on, but I'd wake myself up and then I'd have to wake them up. Hey, can you guys take us to school? It was just, they never woke up on time. They never, it got to a point where like it was up to us. If we were going to go to school, we had to wake them up. And it was like, we would always stay up until 2, 3 in the morning all together. But during the day it was bad. But when it got to those like late hours, like, everybody was happy. And so like, you never want to go to bed because you're actually enjoying your time. But during the day it's like, and like I'd get home from school, they're asleep. I would ask, hey, what's for dinner? I don't know, go find something. And I'm like, I'm struggling. Like I'm in a sling. Like I need help. And finally, like it just got bad. And then my parents ended up allowing. So this girl dated my brother, and I consider her my sister. She lives in Granby now, but they were dating, and she ended up not having a home, so she lived with us, and so she helped us get to and from school. She would make dinner with us and for us. And then another girl moved in named Raven. She was like another sister to me, and it's like constant. Like my parents are taking care of. Like I'm glad these people moved in with us. I'm glad I met them, but at the same time, it's like they're taking care of all these people, but not taking care of us. Like they could have been taking care of us the way that they're taking care of these people, and it hurt. But at the same time, like I'm happy I met them because they're like my sisters now. I still talk to them daily. Well, I talk to one of them daily. The other one I don't really see much or talk too much. But I'm glad it happened. But I'm still like they didn't even like care to take care of us. But they're just like okay with, like at a point we had 6 other people living in that, or 7 other people living in the house, including me, or not including me, my brother, sister, or my brother. It was about 11 of us, and then my parents made 13, all living in it wasn't a very big house, and so there was a bunk bed in one of the rooms, so there'd be like 2 people on one, 2 people on the other, and then I had a bunk bed in my room, which I ended up moving out of my room because I was like I can't, because that room was like the smoke room or the bathroom. And so, like, anywhere in the house, like, it was smoke. And it got to the point where I no longer wanted to do it. I was like, I don't like it. It makes me feel sick. It makes me not feel right. And so I stopped doing it. And I'd be like, I need to go to the bathroom. They would all be in the bathroom smoking. And they'd be like, okay, go to the bathroom. And so, like, I would just pee in front of all of them. Because they were just, like, that bathroom was literally filled with smoke. Like, you would walk in there and it's just foggy. And finally, like, here, Aidan, hit it. And I'm like, no, I'm good. Whatever, loser. Like, call me. And I'm just like, guys, I just don't want to do it anymore. And then fast forward a little bit, I ended up getting, so we were getting kicked out. And my parents ended up kicking me out. They're like, go ahead and get. I was like, this is what happens whenever you guys don't care to wake up and actually go to work and make money. And now we're all losing the house, and they were like, we'll figure out where to go, but you're gonna have to figure out where to go yourself. And I'm just like, what? I was like, are you serious?
How old were you at the time? Were you like 15?
Oh yeah, 15. I was 15, and they were like, we're gonna be good, but you're gonna have to figure it out on your own. And so I was kicked out. So I packed all my stuff. And at this time, I had a really good friend group. There was 4 of us. I was the 5th one. And I was like, I brought all my stuff to one of their houses. And I was like, hey, I need a place to stay. And like, this is during the school year too. And this is about leading into my freshman year. And I'm like, hey, I need somewhere to stay. And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, I got kicked out. Like, I don't have anywhere to stay. And one of them was like, oh, you can come stay with me. Like, I was going to stay with my other friend, but I didn't want to, like, invade. But my other friend, it was him and his mom, and I've been there a couple times, and she was like, oh, you can stay whenever. And so he was like, oh, you can just come stay with us. And so me and him, we brought my stuff to his house. I lived there for quite a bit. And I don't honestly know where my parents ended up for a little bit of that time. And then they wanted to talk to me again. And so, like, they'd pick me up every now and then. We'd hang out, and then they dropped me off. Pick me up, hang out. Like, it was, all that would be happening. And so, finally, they were like, we want you to live a little bit closer. Because I think they were living around, like, the Carterville area still. And so I ended up, my other friend, I was like, hey, is the room still open? Can I still move in with you? And he's like, yeah, is everything good? And I was like, my parents just want me closer. And so I was just wondering if I could move in with you. And he was like, yeah, that's fine. And so I ended up moving in with him. And I lived with him for a long time. I lived with him from like middle, I believe, freshman year until, oh wait, maybe it was like late freshman year until October of my junior year. And so I lived with him for a long time. Like, me and him are brothers. We do everything together. And by everything, I mean we smoked and we played video games. We smoked and we played video games like that. We couldn't work yet, so like we just sat at home, played video games, did homework, smoked. Like, that's all we did. And I always was like, I don't want to do this. And he was really good about not peer pressuring me into it. And then me and my parents would get in a fight again, and I'd be like really upset, and I'd smoke again and again and again. And it got to the point where that's why I gained so much weight, because that's all we did. Me and the whole friend group, like, that's what we did. And so I gained a good amount of weight throughout that time. I gained a lot of the weight during the COVID years, which during COVID, that brought a lot of, like, me and my family close together for a little bit, because my dad, it got to the point, like, he was nearly dead. And, like, I would have to literally help my dad bathe. And so we got really close during that period of COVID, but that's when I started gaining a lot of weight, which I started getting depressed. But then when I moved with my friend, I started smoking a lot, and I gained even more weight, and I was getting even more depressed. But he helped. He would always, we'd stay up and just talk. We'd always have good conversations. We'd always all be going out doing something. We'd always be, hey, you guys want to go get food? We'd all go get food together. Whenever it would be like snowing, we'd all go, like, this is actually kind of mean, but we would drive around neighborhoods, and if we saw a snowman, we'd just kick it or we'd tackle it. I might still have videos, to be honest, but like, I was finally having fun. I didn't have to worry about my parents anymore. I didn't have to worry about going home and getting yelled at. I didn't have to worry about that no more. Like, I was on my own. Like, I was free. And at this time, like, throughout a lot of this, I didn't really speak to my family. Like, we didn't really see each other unless it was like someone's birthday or holiday. But like, for those years, like, we didn't really see each other much. I think I started seeing my grandparents more like later on, because I'd be like, hey, what are you guys doing, blah blah blah, and they'd come pick me up, and then we'd hang out. Or I'd be like, I'd ask her, like, are you free, like, I would love to see you guys. And she's like, yeah. And then I would get in, she's like, you need a haircut? And I was like, okay. And so she'd go take me to get my haircut, then we'd go get food. And like, I always loved seeing my family. Like, I'm a big family person, but I feel like throughout that time, I was like, my parents don't even want me, so why would my family? And so I was like, it's my friends. Like, that's all my life is now, is just hanging out with friends. And I played football, which it was always scary, because, I mean, smoking and playing football, it's like you can get drug tested. And I feel like I put myself around a lot of those people that smoked. Like, a lot of people I like that I was friends with at that time, they all smoked. I don't know about now. I don't really talk to any of them anymore. But leading up to when I ended up moving out of Cam's house for a little bit, I was helping a childhood friend. Her mom was like, hey, so I got my first, okay, this is going to help the story a little bit more. So whenever I turned 16 living with Cam, I, like, straight away, the second I could get my license, I got a job. I didn't have a car yet, and then I ended up, so throughout that summer, going into my junior year, I lived with my other friend, and his parents helped me out a lot. His dad was like a car auctioneer person, and so we would go to car auctions, because I was like, I need a car. And we'd go to car auctions. He's like, okay, so which car do you want that he got? And I'd be like, I want that one. And so, like, I ended up buying that car from him. My grandparents were there with me whenever they were signed, because I obviously can't sign papers yet, but they signed the papers for me. And I got my own car. I ended up, so throughout that summer, I worked like illegal hours, because I was 16. I would work like 80 hours. I'd work 16-hour shifts a whole week or something, and it was a lot. But I was like, I need money. Like, I have nothing to lean back on. Like, I need to make my own money. I need to do my own thing. And so I got my own job. But when I didn't have a car, the people I live with, they would take me back and forth from work and all that. There's a few things I'm missing, but I'm just summing it up to like get to where I'm at now. But I ended up getting my own car, and so I would drive myself to school, or not to school, but to work. And then there was a week period or like a month period where I would tell my friend, I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna be there tonight, just because I was like getting close with a family. It always scared me because I was like, you never know when they're just gonna not like you anymore or something. And so I would text both of them like, hey, I'm not coming home. Hey, I'm not coming home. And I would stay in my car for like a month. And I didn't want to tell anybody about it, but to this day, I'll admit I keep a pillow and blanket in my car at all times. It's in the back of my car under like my flap that I have. Like there'd be nights I would literally just drive to like the gym parking lot, and I would just leave my car. I'd wake up, and sometimes when I had summer weights before work, I would just sleep in the school parking lot, and people would be like, come to my car and be like, "You here early?" Yeah, I know. I was like, I just want to come here early. I never told anybody. I was like, yeah, I'm just staying in my car, because I never wanted people to feel bad for me. And I was at the point where I was distancing myself from everybody, just because it was hard to trust people whenever your own parents can just be like, we don't care. And I was always a forgiving person, and there was a time I was like finally like going to see my parents again, and whenever I went to see them again, like they literally, like my dad had a trash can, like a blue trash can that people have, filled with weed. And my little brother would be like scooping through it to get good pieces of bud and put it in a bag. And my family didn't care. They didn't care at all. My little brother, he smokes on a regular basis. I don't see him anymore. My little sister, who knows what she's doing. I'm praying that like everything's going good with them. I see them like maybe once a month if they come into my like place and to where I work. But I always just I never knew what to do, because I'm like, I would always talk to my mom and I'm like, you need to change. Like something needs to change. Like my little brother is smoking weed. But at the time, I was like, I can't say much because I'm doing the same thing. And I would say, I'd say the last time I smoked was almost a year ago, because the last time I smoked was with one of my brother's best friends, but he was also one of my really good friends that I grew up with a little bit, mostly because my brother grew up with him. I say 11 months ago was the last time I smoked. And I haven't smoked since because he ended up taking his life. It was in October when he took his life, I believe. And so I was like, there's no point, because I smoked with him, and then I didn't smoke again. And then he ended up taking his life, and I realized, I was like, there's no point for me to smoke. That's when I was like, I don't like it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. And I was like, at least I can say like the last time I did was with him. There's no point for me to ever do it again. And to this day, I haven't smoked. And there was a time period where I did drink a lot with my friends. And I'll admit the last time I drank was April 13th. It was the night of prom, and I haven't drank since, nor do I ever want to. It was very, like, I don't know why I did it, but I did it, and I can't take it back. I can't live in regret. All I can do is repent. But what sucked the most was I was working at our place. And
That's where I met A. Reyes, man.
that's where we met. This guy. I was going through a lot for a few months, and I'll take it back to October of last year. This was one of the hardest times in my life. I distanced myself a lot from people. The one thing I will admit, though, is I did keep my grades pretty well up for not being in the right state of mind. But so September, like leaning towards the end of September, I was getting like really upset with myself, and I wasn't feeling like myself. There was a place I worked at, and it got to the point I didn't even want to go to work anymore. And so I just wouldn't show up. And they'd call me, I'd ignore it. They'd call me and I'd ignore it. And I was like, I can't. I couldn't even get myself up to go to work. I couldn't get myself up to go to school at that point. And I distanced myself from my whole family. I wouldn't text them back. And there was October 2nd, the morning of October 2nd, we had school. And the night before that, I texted a really, really good friend of mine at that time. And I just told her, I was like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this anymore. I no longer want to be here. I have nothing else to give this world. I can't do it. And that's when I was like, I'm just going to end it. And saying those words, it makes you not feel anything. And so I didn't go to school that next morning, and she was like texting me like, Aiden, are you okay? Aiden, are you okay? And I just ignored it. And then I didn't even like, I wanted to text my family so bad, but I didn't. Like, I couldn't bring myself to it because I knew if I texted them, like, they'd talk me out of it, and I didn't want to be talked out of it. I wanted it to be done. And so I was just by myself, and this is when I was living with my childhood friend that I was helping out. And I was getting, there was an area I was at, I didn't have service, but when I got back, I saw my phone was blown up by like my grandparents, like, where you at, we're worried. My sister was blowing up my phone, my aunt, my uncle, and I saw on my phone that I had a missed call from my principal at my school, and he was just like asking if I was okay and where I was. And then I found out the cops ended up showing up to my grandparents' house. They were looking for me, and I wouldn't tell anybody where I was at. I didn't want to tell anybody where I was at. And then finally, like, when I was looking at my phone, I was like, I just wanted to see everybody one last time before anything. But I ended up going back to school because they were like, you need to come back to the school. Like, we need you here right now. And so my child, the people, like, she took me to school. And I just walked in those doors, and the front office lady is like my school mom, and I walked in the office, and I was already crying a bunch. And she was like, she just looked at me, and I just started bawling my eyes out, and I just fell into her arms, and I started crying. And then I ended up having to go down to the counselor's office, and they were just like, "What's going on? Can you talk to me?" And my counselor, she's amazing. And I was just like, I don't want to live anymore. I have nothing left in me. I have no energy. I have zero care for my life. And a lot of people didn't actually like really know about that. But I did attempt to take my own life, which I don't like to admit because because I remember I told my sister for it. I have a good friend that went through it, not himself, but one of his family members. And then, so like I always told myself, I was like, I'm never gonna do that. Like that's the dumbest thing ever. And then I was so just depressed, and I was so sad, and I wasn't where I wanted to be in my life, and I didn't know how I was gonna get there. I was overweight. I didn't like how I looked. I didn't like how I thought. I didn't like anything about myself, and I was just like, the easiest thing to do is just take your life. Like, and I would talk to myself. I was like, I would go on drives by myself, and I would just drive and drive and drive and cry and drive. And I would drive places I didn't even know where I was. And then I would have to keep driving until I got service on my phone to find my way back home. But I remember what led me to the point where I was like fully done was when I lost my car. Because I was driving and my car blew up. And it no longer worked. And there was no way I was going to be able to get it fixed. And so the second I lost my car was my escape. And so the second I lost my car, I was like, I have nothing left. And I was ready to leave. And then I had to like report back to the counselor's office like every single day for a few months. They ended up having me move in with somebody from the school so they can keep a better eye on me. And it was the lady in the front office, and I lived with her and her family. Her son was like really, really great guy towards me. Her whole family is very welcoming. And I lived with them for a long time, and I don't know exactly what happened, but I ended up having to move out, and I ended up moving with my grandparents. I moved in with them on, when I was living with that family, I get a text from my mom, and this is at the point where I'm still like trying to talk to my mom and family a little bit. I got a call from my mom, and she was like, "Hey, are you able to talk right now?" And I was at my tech center sitting in class, and I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And she texted, and she was like, "Have you heard from Noah? Has he told you anything?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, Luke took his life. And I just froze, and I was just like, I didn't know like who she was talking about. And then I was like Noah's right? And she's like, yes. And I was like, no, there's no way. And she's like, he's gone, Aidan. And I just remember that ride back from like tech to my school, and I was just crying, and I was like, there's no way. And this was like later October, so like I just went through everything with myself, and then I ended up finding out like a really good friend of mine took his own life. And my brother told me about his last phone call, and it was to it wasn't his girlfriend at the time, but they dated, and she was his baby mama. Like he literally had a baby, and he was just like, hey, I'm always gonna love you, blah blah blah. And he was drunk, he had his own gun, and my brother was always like, I need to take the gun from him, blah blah blah. And he was driving by himself alone, he was drinking, and he parked on the side of the road. And whenever the cops arrived, they didn't know who it was. because they didn't recognize him. And they had his parents come to the scene because they were like, I think, I don't know how they got the parents, but like he wasn't recognizable. And I remember the funeral, and I didn't ever really see my older brother cry because he knew how to not, and he was very tough. And I showed up to the funeral, and I see him coming towards me, and I just like, I was already crying, but seeing your older brother cry, it's like, it hurts a little bit. And he came up to me, and he just, I can't remember the last time me and him actually had such a good hug, but he just like hugged me, and he just started crying in my arms. And he wasn't crying before, but whenever he started hugging me, like he started crying. And I'd like seeing your older brother cry like in your arms, it's like you don't even know what to do at that point. And I didn't know what to do. And then I saw my little brother behind my older brother, and just seeing them both cry, it's like I realized then, I was like, I almost did this to them, because I realized, I was like, I was about to take my own life. And not only would that have hurt a lot of people, but like seeing my brothers cry like that about a friend, I was like, I could have caused this much pain. And that's when I realized, I was like, it was selfish of me. And I had never like wanted anybody to have to go through so much pain. And so like when I saw them crying, it's like, this could have been my funeral that they were at, and I couldn't have been there to hug them, because I didn't think of them whenever I was in my own mind of wanting not to live. I was like, I didn't even think of anybody else. I thought of myself and a temporary problem to a permanent like solution. And it's just, it's not the way. It's a temporary problem that you'll be able to fix. You just gotta. My problem was I didn't know how to talk to people, and that led back to my childhood. It's like I always knew to just keep to yourself, don't speak up. And I think after a while, like I started feeling okay again, but there was like some nights where I'd be up too late and I'd just be by myself, nobody to talk to. And I would start to think again, and then I just remember back to the funeral of my friend, and I was like, I remember how much pain everybody was in, including myself. I don't want to put anybody through that. And a lot of people were like, you need to get therapy, like blah, blah, blah. And being a kid, it's like therapy didn't really work for me. It just put me on meds that I didn't want to take. And so to this day, I haven't had therapy. When I moved in with my grandparents, it was like a month into working at SOAR, I believe. And I was actually working now. Yeah, because I got hired around Thanksgiving, and this was Christmas, so I was working there. And then I remember talking to Braden about like working out and stuff. And then I got a gym membership at the best place I could find, which was here. And so this was like my therapy, was the gym. And I just made it like a regular thing where I was here. I didn't care for it like to like buy anything else. I was like, if I didn't have a lot of money to spend, like I don't care, like I'm keeping this membership, because I didn't want to go to therapy, because one therapy session is a whole month worth of a gym membership. Like if you truly think about it, and I don't think it's right to have to pay so much to talk about your feelings, like at all, with somebody that might not have gone through exactly what you're going through. And I'm not saying like all therapists don't know, but I mean, how many do know and how many don't? And so like I've always just been like, personally, I'm against it for myself, because I know it won't help me. It didn't help me. It just made everything worse. And so I just started coming to the gym a lot. And I didn't care how late I was here. I didn't care how early I would be here. Like I would just make sure to work out, just because it's like me and my thoughts and music. And then I would say a little bit into whenever I moved in with my grandparents, I still didn't have a car. And so like for a long time, I was getting rides back and forth from work. I didn't have my own car. I couldn't get there myself. And so it was a little bit until I got the gym membership, but whenever I finally did get the car, that's when I got the membership, and then that's when I really started working a bunch, because I had to pay for my gas and my car insurance and gym membership. And I mean, I know Braden knows how much I ended up working, just because I don't know, ever since I first started working at my first job, there was a period I didn't work when I was living with that family after everything with me, because I just wasn't mentally right to do that yet. So I didn't work. I ended up finding a really good friend that me and him would go to the gym together. Me and him don't talk anymore, sadly, but me and him worked out together a lot at 24. And then we ended up not working out as much. And so like there was a good amount of period where I didn't work at all. But then the second I got the job again, that's all I did was just worked and worked and worked. And over the summer I was there constantly at that place, Tuesday through Saturday, just working doubles. That's all I did. And then whenever I, like later on living with my grandparents, I felt like something was missing in my life, and I knew what it was, but I never knew like what to do like to get that. And it was my relationship with God. And I went to church, at a church that I don't really go to anymore, but I started going to that church quite a bit. And I'd really like listen, and I'm just like, I need to get closer to God. I need to like actually talk to him. And so like I went consistently until so from like December to I think March, like middle of March, I went consistently. And then there was something that happened which led to April, and my decisions that I made. And then I ended up working on Sundays quite a bit. And then I ended up getting Sundays off. And I think around all this time, I think I took like, when did we all start hanging out? Like late May, or was it June?
It was May.
Yeah, so there was a time period where like I wanted to go to church and stuff, but from like April to like the time period in May, I didn't really go to church until I went with Braden and Jackson. And then I went, if I didn't go with them, I'd go to the church I got baptized at, which I have been going to consistently for quite some time now. And I would say throughout the months when I was living with that one family, they did get me a Bible, because that's one thing I asked for, because I lost all my Bibles in like all the moving and stuff. And so they got me my own Bible, and I started going to church, and going to church, it's like you have to do more than just go to church to build a relationship with God. Like, you have to speak to him. You have to read his word. Like, I'll admit, like, I'm not very consistent with it, just because, like, it just comes and goes. But I mean, I'm consistent with reading the word, but when it comes to like actually like reading the Bible or reading scripture, I'm not too good. But that's why I downloaded the Bible app, because it sends you a daily verse as a notification, so you can actually like just read it. I've been talking to him a lot. I'm about to say, I think I started talking to him a lot whenever we first started the podcast, is when I was like, I really just need to speak to him. I need to talk to him every day. And so like I'll find myself struggling a good amount, and I'll just talk to him. Today I felt very uneasy about myself all day, but I would find myself just talking to him, just randomly talking to him. And when it comes to church, like, I truly have just been letting myself do whatever. Like, I will fully worship. I will sing super duper loud. My problem in church for a while was, like, I would want to, like, whenever like people would like raise their hands and be singing, I always was like, I want to do that. Like, I know I should, and like something was always pushing me to do it, but I was always like too like nervous to do it. And I was always, I don't know why, but there was something in me that was like, don't do it. And I think it's like I was scared of judgment, but I'm like, why? And then I started thinking about it. It took me like 2 weeks, and I'm like, why am I scared to do this? Like, I'm worshiping and I'm just singing to Jesus. Like, why am I scared to do that? Why? Like, I shouldn't be scared. And so I finally just started, like, when I started singing, I just started raising my hands up whenever I feel, like, whenever it tells me to. Like, I just get that feeling like, all right, it's like, now raise your arms up. And like, I'll just be singing, and I get into it. Like, I love singing, and I feel like I sing pretty good when it comes to worship music.
You have to let us listen sometime.
And I will admit, whenever we started all hanging out, I remember we would talk about like music, and I remember always saying, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to stop listening to my music. There's no way I'm ever going to be able to stop. And because Braden has never not listened to worship music. You've always listened to worship music, right?
Well, when I first started driving, I would mostly listen to NF, which is not worship music or not really Jesus music either.
Yeah.
But I would also occasionally listen to like Justin Bieber, The Kid Laroi,
Yeah.
that.
See,
that
that
kind
was
of
like
stuff,
my
so-
music. I would listen to like Drake and Kid Laroi, and like, it was just rap.
But-
And
Yeah, for me, like when I got into college is when my music completely shifted
Yeah.
to just Christian, and that's it.
And I was like, there's no way music makes me act the way I do. There's no way at all. And then I remember listening to my like normal music, and I'm like, oh, this is like boring. I was like, I don't really like want to listen to this stuff anymore. And so I went a week straight of listening to straight Lauren Daigle. Like, only Lauren Daigle.
Wow.
I found a playlist of all her songs, and that's all I listened to for a whole week. I still do it. But I found more artists that I listen to. But it's strictly just worship music. Like, I don't care to listen to any of my other music anymore. Like, I've been listening to a lot of country recently, but it's not like it's not the rap country. It's like actual country music, just singing about dirt roads and grass, like, literally. And so it's like country music. And so I'll just listen. My only music is like worship music. And I don't, something about it, it just makes me happier. When I listen to like rap, it made me like angry. It made me like, I don't know, like, I mean, it made me like amped up, but it would also just like make me a little angry about it too. And like, You don't want to feel like that when you first wake up. And so like I'll turn on Lauren Daigle. I think my number one. I think the song I listen to first is what is it? You say I'm strong. Yeah, that's the first song I listen to every morning. And then I turn it to The Prodigal. I love that song. And then I switch it back to Lauren Daigle. And then I'll switch it to like country every now and then. But I remember just like I was like, I'm not gonna be able to change my music. And then now I can't even. I would say like a week ago I tried listening to my old music and I was just like, dude, this stuff sucks. I was like, this is actually terrible. And I was like, this doesn't even make me feel good. This makes me feel like mad. And so I haven't listened to it. And like I just don't enjoy it anymore. Like, and it's songs that I can know word for word, and I'm just like, this song sucks. I was like, I don't like this song. Why do I know this song? And so like I would say music has been it's helped me a lot throughout my faith. I would say like music is the way to my heart, and like singing about God through like I feel like that's brought me closer personally. Like I feel like music helps me with my faith. Like I truly believe that. And I believe it's also helped with like the way I act. I don't act the same way I used to at all. And I feel like I will say it's because of music. Like truly, I will say it's because of the type of music I listen to. And like taking like the little things out of my life that I used to do. I just like all I care about now is obviously these guys, the gym, God, and it's like just getting rid of all that extra stuff, like going out and being stupid with friends. I don't care to do. I'm gonna be totally like honest. I don't have many friends. It's literally Braden, Jackson, and a few other people. I won't name one of them or any of them. But there's a few people like I don't really like, hang out with anybody outside of school except for these two, which I don't even really go to school, as you guys know. But like I don't hang out with really anybody. I work and then I go to the gym, and then my Saturdays or Fridays or whatever day we film, it's dedicated to these guys. But I don't really. I don't care to go to parties. I don't care to go throw eggs at people's houses. I don't care to chalk people's cars. Like that's just like I don't know why I would do that in the first place. I don't know why that doesn't even sound fun to me. People say my life's boring, but I have God now, and it's not boring at all. I will truly say the second, which someone that helped me realize this was Braden. And it's like the stronger you're building a relationship with God, like the more people that will like he will remove from your life. Because that's something I went through. Because I would say in the past few months, like that's when I've been like the strongest with my faith. I've gone through a lot of friendships that haven't worked out. And do you remember what you said? Because I was like,
it's really whenever your priorities shift and they don't have the same priorities as you. It's almost like, you just grow apart. It just happens naturally. Because, usually we're friends with people that have similar interests and goals and priorities. And when you give your life to Jesus, you do a complete 180.
yeah.
And then from then on, it's a process in the opposite direction of what, people that don't have Jesus are going. So yeah, you just start to lose friends because people, like you said, they see your life as boring and not fun and not adventurous.
Yeah.
Whereas, your priorities are straight now. Like that's the sad thing about people that'll look at, people that give their life to Jesus and say, well, they have a boring life now. All they do is care about God and go to church, and but they don't know what they're missing.
Yeah.
Like they're missing like the thing that every human being desires. We're all made with that desire to have an intimate relationship with our Creator. We're all made with that gap in our soul. And everyone, regardless of what they believe, they're all looking for something to, it goes back to previous episodes, they're all looking for something to feel that, and a lot of people fill it with the wrong things because they don't know. A lot of people don't even know the gospel. Like, if you ask, you can go up to someone and ask them, like, hey, what's the gospel? And they don't know. They're like, I don't know, Jesus, or I don't know, it's in the Bible. And they don't understand, like, the significance of it goes back to, like, what Bryce Crawford said the other day when I was watching him. He was talking to these strangers, and he's like, even though I don't know you and you don't know me, if there's a bus coming down the street and I shoved you guys out of the way and I got hit, you guys would know that I love you because I laid down my life for you. And that's exactly what Jesus did for us. And then people are like, okay, yeah, Jesus died for us. What is that? Why did he die for? Like, why is it so significant? It's because he was perfect, sinless, and he was God in the flesh.
It's the only sacrifice that worked.
It's the only worthy sacrifice to make up for our sins, because no matter how many times we repent from our sins, we still fall short regardless. And being a good person isn't going to get you to heaven, because truthfully, none of us are good people. We all make mistakes. I mean, there's people that have better morals than other people, but if you think about it, like, our desires are usually selfish. And when we don't align our lives with God's desires, that's when everything goes wild and crazy. And that's why we can't get ourselves to heaven, because we're not worthy, because we turn our back on God. We sin against God. We sin against our brothers and sisters. And that's the significance of Jesus. And not only did he take our punishment that we deserve, it's like going into a courtroom. You've committed crimes. This guy walks in and says, hey, I'll take your punishment. I'll take your fines. You're free to go. You don't have to go to jail anymore.
Even though he did nothing.
Even though he did nothing wrong. He's completely innocent. And it's just crazy to me that we had humans here. Us humans literally killed Jesus. Somebody who never did anything wrong. Never even sinned. And he even asked people, because people in the Bible, they didn't believe that he was the Messiah. And so he said, okay, well, if I'm not the Messiah, then point out, tell me when I've sinned. The entire crowd was silent. Like, because if you have like a relationship with somebody, you know when, like, Jackson, you know when I've sinned. Like, you've seen me sin. No one had ever seen him at all sin. No one could ever point it out. The only thing they could...
James, his brother.
Yeah.
Brother.
Yeah, and the only thing people could say was, well, your sin is that you're a witch and you're pretending to be the Messiah when you're not.
Yeah.
And it's... yeah, dude, it, like, when people grasp the whole, like, the gospel, the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, and why it was important, that's when your life changes. And then when you started taking that seriously, these people don't. So you guys grow apart, you lose friends, and then you start to make friends with people that have the same values.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that whenever I started to really just throw everything in God's hands, I noticed that there was many people that just wanted to tear it apart, and they just wanted to spread things about me that weren't true, or they would just talk about all the mistakes I've made before I fully, like, turned myself to God again. They would just bring up, like, my past of things that I did that I'm not proud of and that I've admitted fully on every episode. And it's like, I've smoked, I've drank, I've sinned, I've done many things that I'm not proud of, but at the same time, it's like there's no point living in regret, and there's no point in like holding somebody's mistakes over their head, because change is possible. Like it is possible to change no matter what you did, no matter what. Like it's possible. And there's many people that don't understand that, and it's like, yes, I've made mistakes, but how long are you going to be able to hold that over my head? Because they're like, what's your reasoning for that? Like, why are you trying to tear me apart when I'm just trying to build my relationship closer to God and change it to the person that he wanted me to be? Like, why would you still want to hold that against somebody? And I believe in change, and that's why I have forgiven my parents for the things they've done, and it was their decision to not have me in their life. And I believe that they can change. It's all about taking the right steps into changing. And when it comes to like people, that if they think that I have beef with them or that I don't like them, it's one-sided, because I love you. I love who you are. I might not agree with all the things you do or have done, but like we've all made mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes, and it's like I don't have a problem with anybody anymore. Like, and to anybody out there that I did anything, like if I said anything to you that upset you, like I apologize. But no matter like anything that you have done in your life or people that you know, like there's no point in holding it over anybody's head, like at all, especially if they're trying to change. And another thing is, when it comes to like having a friend and you don't agree with the things that they do and you criticize them and they end up like not wanting to be friends anymore, you didn't do anything wrong. Like you were just trying to help them and guide them in the direction that they needed to go in. And that, I don't even know how to explain that, but it's like you can only do so much.
Mm-hmm.
And people will decide what they want to do with it, but you can't really. You can only do so much, and they'll do with whatever you tell them. That they'll do whatever they want with that information. But whenever that's the thing, is like you'll start changing your life for the better, but there's always going to be people out there that just want to tear it apart.
I think it's either a Psalms or a Proverbs. It's like something to do with like how a rebuke is like an action of love rather than, and like just like affirming someone into wrongdoings is like not an act of love. It's just, yeah, so it's good to not be judgmental, but to, how I put it, rebuke, let
Hold people
know.
accountable.
Yeah, hold people
Yeah.
accountable, let them know of their wrongdoings, but do it in love though. It's I think it's 1 Corinthians 16:14, I believe. Do everything in love. And yeah, also back to like earlier how you were talking about like some people, how you grow apart, they see like that your life is boring.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people think this because like when you start in a relationship with Jesus, they think there's like, oh, you got to follow a bunch of these rules
Yeah.
and stuff. But if you really have like a faith and a desire to grow in your faith, you'll gain more of a desire to grow. You'll grow, and then it won't be more like rules you have to live by. It's like rules you want to live by. Your sinful desires will go away. Your desires to do what God wants you to do
Mm-hmm.
will go up. They'll become more prevalent. And you'll want to do the things that the Bible tells us to do. You'll not want to do the things the Bible tells you not to do. It's just like, it's what our pastor was talking about, a living faith.
Mm-hmm.
It's truly there. You want the relationship, and it kind of like works itself in a way.
You know, it's crazy because even a few years ago, I mean, I still looked at the Bible as, like I followed it, like I tried to follow it the best I could, like what it said to do and what not to do. And I still kind of looked at it as a bunch of rules that I have to follow. Whereas now I just see it as protection. Because if you think about it, all of the commandments are just there as guidelines to protect you, for you to have the most healthy, fulfilling life you can have. And I think a huge one in today's society is like the no sex before marriage. People say, well, that's no fun. Why can't I just go around and sleep with whoever I want to sleep with? They see it as like a rule. But if you really think about it, if you look at it in a different perspective as him trying to protect you, think of all the people who aren't married. An accident happens, they have a kid, and the parents are separate.
There's so many problems.
Do you know how many problems that creates for the child? Going back and like children not having a dad at their house, or children not having a mom. Kids need both of their parents to have. I'm not saying you can't be nothing without your parents, but like it's so much healthier for a child to have both of their parents in their life together as a family, because we were made to be in families with a mom and a dad together as one. A marriage is between a man and a woman together as one with their children. One family under God, just like how this nation should be. And this nation is going the opposite direction of that as well. And it's just, when you start taking God out of everything, that's when everything starts to collapse. And we can see that happening right now.
It is pouring outside right now.
Yeah. But it's, yeah. I no longer see it as a list of rules. I see it as protection to protect me from the enemy and the world, because the world will eat you up. It's a cold place. The world does not care about you, neither does Satan.
I think there's a Psalms was someone it's like talking about like I think like fools or something, and it's like they sabotage only themselves. Like the bad things you do, like going against the commandment, it's just bad for yourself.
Yeah, like in my, like I no longer like the sinful desires, dude. Like it's just destroying yourself, and it even destroys your relationship with people around you.
Like if someone like wrongs me, like, and I like know I didn't like do anything to like deserve that, like I kind of remember that. I was like, well, it's like they're just hurting themselves, honestly. It's like I can't let that.
Yeah. And that's why, like, when I look back on, like, when I was just angry and hateful all the time, it just, now, where I'm at now, it just, I don't say I really let it weigh on me, but it just kind of irritates me because, like, it didn't just affect me, like, it affected you, and it affected our parents. And it affected, at the time, our relationships. Because I was just, yeah, dude, I was just, you and your problems can affect the people around you. And at the time, I was pretty selfish at the time, too, because I didn't see how I was really affecting you guys. I was just concerned with myself and tired of feeling that way myself, but I didn't realize me acting out on that crap was affecting you guys. And that's why it's really important to surrender all of your desires and all of your negative feelings and thoughts as soon as they happen. Because when you let those thoughts or feelings just sit in there and dwell inside of you, they eventually come out.
I like probably like last year, there was a time I would like see like people's lives like full of sin, basically sinful people, um, people like taking pride in their sins, and it like I used to like have a lot of hate in my heart. Like, yeah, like you're supposed to hate the sin, love the person. I like hated the sin, hated the person. I didn't not like people I knew, but like I just see this stuff and I just carry so much hate. But I think I've gotten better at that recently. Like I don't really I don't hate the person. Like I hate the sin. Sin is bad. But now it's more just like, oh, my heart, like it just kind of makes me sad for them. Sad just to see like what
Because
people are doing and like
I was the same way.
taking
it's
pride in it.
it's because like you know what they're truly missing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you know what they're missing, but they don't. They know they're missing something, but they don't know what it is. But we do. And so when you see people doing stuff like that, it's like if they would just give Jesus a chance.
Jesus is just the most fulfilling. Never drink from the living water, you'll never be thirsty.
It never runs dry.
Yeah, I think I was the same way with all that stuff. But I used to also be like super judgy of people, and I mean I still catch myself being a little bit bad about it. But and then I just think I'm like, this is not me anymore. Like this isn't who I am. And then I talk to God about it, so I'm like, dude, I need to stop. Like, cause I used to be really bad, like really judgmental, but
Same.
now it's like I know it's not who I'm supposed to be, and I know it's not right, so I just try to like be better about it. But
And that's good. The first step to solving a problem is knowing that there's a problem.
that's true. You gotta know there's a problem to fix the problem.
That's the first step in giving your life to Jesus too. Realizing you have a sin problem.
Which I had a very, very, very massive sin problem.
We all did, man.
Yeah, we all did. We all still do. Sin.
I will say I am very like glad I shared this with not just you guys, but anybody who's watching, because I do want people to know that no matter like what you're going through, no matter how much you go through, if you're dedicated enough and you just follow in God's word and you just surrender your life to God, you will find your way out. And I'm not gonna say that like you can do it without God, but he helps so much more, because at first I was doing it without him, but it was harder. It was draining to do it without him. But the second I started doing it with him, I wasn't exhausted anymore. I just knew like he has me. No matter where I go, no matter what happens, like I'm in his hands. And doing it without him is just draining. It's hard. You never know where you're going to be. You never know like anything. But whenever you have God, it truly feels like you know every step, even if you don't. And I also do want to say, like, if you're ever in that, like, in your head about doing anything to yourself, it's not worth it. Talk to anybody, like, seriously, anybody you know. And if you have a problem with, like, being by yourself and you're always in your head, try to do something. Keep your brain away from whatever you're thinking. Like, just do something. Be with somebody if it's possible. Be with, like, whatever you can. Just make sure you, like, talk to somebody, because it's truly you're truly just going through a temporary problem, and you're just trying to end it with a permanent solution. And that won't just hurt you, but it'll hurt everybody around you. Like, you're hurting more people around you than you are yourself. And if you've gone through that or know anybody that has done it, like, you know how painful it is. And so just think about yourself And just think about the people that are going to be there to see you laying their lifeless because of a decision you made. Like, just think about that. Like, it's not worth putting all those people through that pain. And just talk to somebody or something. And just know it's possible to do things greater than anybody could imagine. I've had people talk down on me my whole life, and I'm doing things that they never thought I'd be doing. And so I want everybody to know it is possible, no matter what you come from. It's not you. You got something to share?
So, like you were saying, the negative thoughts, like, don't think those, like, rebuke them. Wednesday night church a couple weeks ago, it has a list of common things people struggle with. Like, I'm sure everyone has struggled with all of these, honestly, before. And it shows a verse to match with it. Negative, destructive thoughts. Philippians 4:8 says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." So rather than thinking those negative thoughts, think of the good things, as mentioned in Philippians 4:8. This is really good. How about I read the list? Doubting your salvation, John 10:28. Anxiety and worry, Philippians 4:6-7. Lust, 1 John 2:15-16. Pride, James 4:10. Self-image problems, Psalm 139:13-14. Shame over past sins, Colossians 2:13-14. Bitterness towards someone who hurt you, Ephesians 4:32. The fear of death, Hebrews 2:14-15. Negative destructive thoughts, Philippians 4:8. Anger towards others, James 1:19. And me, so the thing was to, like, choose 3.
I can say 100% I've dealt with all of those.
I've 100% dealt with every single one of them.
And the thing was to, like, pick 3, write 3 down on the note card that you either struggle with the most or whatever. I put negative and destructive thoughts, Philippians 4:8. Anxiety and worry, Philippians 4:6-7, which is, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Speaking from experience, that's true. Shame over past sins, this one's a big one. Colossians 2:13-14. "When you were dead in your sins and in the uncircumcision of your flesh, God made you alive with Christ. He forgave us all our sins, having concealed the charge of our legal indebtedness, which stood against us and condemned us. He has taken it away, nailing it to the cross."
Amen.
And yeah, I just thought that'd be cool. I got a lot of these. These are really
Are
good.
those from?
I love Wednesday
Do you get
night
those
church.
from Wednesdays?
Yeah, I love Wednesday night church. Okay. Oh, you guys wanted to wrap it up?
We can do whatever. Yeah. Yeah, but I say it's 11.
Is it okay if I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to say, Aidan, thank you for sharing that. That was, man, dude. It really just goes to show you what Jesus can do. Even regardless of where you started, how your childhood was, as you become an adult, it goes to show you that, like what Aidan was saying earlier, there is hope. You can overcome the odds, because the odds were completely stacked against you. And it just goes to show you, if you really take that initiative and you surrender your life to Jesus, he will. That's the thing, dude. Like, he welcomes everybody how they are. He takes you as you are. It goes back to the whole, like, it doesn't matter. We go to God to get clean, get healed. We don't have to put on this act or this fake smile to go to Jesus. He accepts us exactly how we are, wherever we're at. Even if all the odds are stacked against you, regardless of how many people love you or hate you or whatever you're going through. And another thing too is, Aidan, we're glad you're still here, buddy. And we love you.
Glad to hear a blessing to this world.
And I pray to God that you never get that way again, but if you do, just know you got us. And I'm going to be honest, bro, you had me crying. I'm about to cry again, but
Dude, I was trying to just. I almost cried a good amount, but I was able to hold myself back just a little bit. But I did let a little bit out.
But yeah, dude, thank you for not shying away from it, and thank you for sharing with people.
Thank you for your honesty,
Yeah, bro.
vulnerableness.
Dude, I told everybody whenever I started this, I was like, they'd be like, what are you going to talk about? And I was like, everything that I've done. Like, I'm not going to hide any of it from anybody. It is my private life, but I want people, like, it's just, I want people to know. Like, you can go through anything, and you can still always have a relationship with God no matter what it is. You just got to make those first steps into taking His word in.
Just got to give him a chance.
It'll always be there.
But yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to make sure I said that before we ended.
Anyone have any final thoughts?
I'm glad I finally got to be able to tell you guys this stuff.
Yeah, glad to hear it.
Because, I mean, I've wanted to tell you guys, but I was like, it'd be better if I just said it on the podcast so we could all get genuine reactions. But I'm glad I got to finally be able to tell you guys. There's definitely a lot more I could have said, but I was trying to just sum up my childhood to lead it to where I am today. And I will admit, like, the past few weeks, I'll say honestly, like, the past couple weeks, like, a little bit before we went to go watch the movie together and then after, these have been the best few weeks of my life. And honestly, like, whenever October hit this month, or this year, dude, October was, like, the best month I've had.
I could say the same thing.
Which is crazy because just a year ago, it was the worst month I've ever gone through, and then a year later, it's the best month. And I can fully admit that 100% that it was the best month I've had. Except I did feel weird on Halloween, but I always feel like really, really weird on Halloween. But it was the best month I think I've had in a very long time.
That's good.
That's awesome, bro.
Glad to hear that.
Praise Jesus, man.
Praise Jesus.
Praise Jesus. Hit it right and hit the praise. Yay, praise Jesus.
He did it. I do want to thank everybody that has continued to support us and watch us and just listen in. Hopefully we can hear some of your stories sometime once we figure something out.
Mm-hmm.
We got a little bit of stuff to figure out still, but it'll be. Hey, at least we're doing this now. Because I remember whenever we first started, we were like, it'll be soon. It'll be soon. It'll be soon.
Yeah, dude.
But it's here now. We're here now. This is
6.
episode number 6, a month and a half.
A month and a half in, man. It's crazy.
I'm ready to see what the future holds for
Oh, yeah. For us. Me too.
and everybody else. And boys, I graduate in less than 2 months.
That's crazy.
Dang, man.
Life or time flies by. I do miss high school sometimes, but I'm going to be doing better things with the time that I have off. I'll be able to do a lot more with not being in high school.
If you think about it, we got like 3 weeks until Thanksgiving.
And then after that, we have Jesus
it's
Christ's birthday.
basically
A month,
Christmas.
and then Christmas, yeah.
Dude, the going into stores, everything, they skip Thanksgiving
They do,
straight
bro.
to
Oh yeah,
Christmas.
my store is already Christmas.
Mhm.
There's one section of Thanksgiving stuff. It's like the end of every Christmas aisle. It's just Thanksgiving.
We'll stock up on turkeys. It's about it.
It's funny
Yeah.
because I know some people are like, no, it's turkey season, but like stores don't care. I'm like, Christmas all year
I might
round
put my
kinda guy.
Christmas stuff up when I get home in my room now.
I'm gonna plug in my
Oh,
tree.
dude, I love Christmas movies. I love them. I love them.
I love everything about Christmas.
Me too.
It's just a happy. Like, everybody's happy.
Yeah, I know.
I
it's
mean,
so
and
great.
stressed out, but why be stressed out? Just be happy.
And sometimes there's snow.
You think
like,
too
we get
deep into
snow.
it. I tell people that give me presents, like my family, I'm like, you guys think too deep into it. Like, there's no reason you should be stressed out shopping for me. Like, I tell them, I like socks, underwear,
Socks.
and money. Just give me money for gas money. That's all I can. I'm like, come on now. If you're gonna give
That's
me
all I
anything,
need.
just give me some gas money.
I know some people don't like to give cash because it's like not. Like sometimes the thing about getting a gift is more of like an emotional thing
Yeah.
rather than like
And I
giving
tell my
cash.
family,
but
I'm like,
still,
guys, if-
sometimes cash is like.
Yeah, I tell my family, I'm like, honestly, you guys give me cash, I would like that more than a notebook. Like, sometimes they give me random stuff, and I'm like, thank you, but what made you think of this? But I love my family. I'm thankful for anything I've ever received on Christmas. I'm not being
Mhm.
a poop head. I actually appreciate everything I've ever received. But some of you guys just think too deep into it. Like, truly.
We're calling them out. Wow.
But episode 6.
Episode 6.
So 6.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Watching, listening. We love you.
Church tomorrow.
Church tomorrow.
Church
tomorrow
is
Sunday.
tomorrow.
That's hype.
Except when they see this, it'll be Thursday.
Thursday. Happy Thursday.
Get church on Friday, guys.
Oh yeah, happy Thursday, guys. I hope your week was pretty good.
And I hope your weekend is great.
And if you have work, be the reason someone's in my house. With that being said,
And Jesus loves you. Don't forget it. Come
Jesus
on,
does
now.
love you.
Do
a
not
lot.
forget.
I got
God
no
bless.
chains, they broken, no chains.